Most people think of God as something or someone out there, distant, divine, separated from us by time, space, and sin. But what if God is not outside you, but the very awareness with which you're watching this video right now? In the 13th century, a German Dominican friar named Meister Eckhart made a radical claim. God is not a being among beings. God is being itself, and that being lives through your awareness. His sermons were so shocking, so direct, that many were condemned by the church as heresy. And yet, centuries later, his words echo through the voices of mystics, philosophers, and consciousness researchers around the world. Eckhart speaks of a divine spark, the innermost core of the soul, where God is not just found, but born. In this video, we'll explore Eckhart's mystical vision of the soul, the birth of God within consciousness, and how his insights align with non-dual teachings from Advaita Vedanta to Zen, and even modern theories in neuroscience and quantum mind. If you've ever sensed there's more to you and reality than what you've been told, you're in the right place. Born around 1260 in what is now Germany, Eckhart von Hochheim, better known as Meister Eckhart, was a theologian, philosopher, and mystic. A member of the Dominican order, he studied in Paris and taught throughout Europe. But unlike many of his academic peers, Eckhart wasn't satisfied with external theology. He wanted to experience God directly. He preached not to scholars, but to ordinary people, especially women in mystical lay communities, using vivid, poetic language that bypassed doctrine and pierced the soul. At the heart of his message was a revolutionary idea, that the soul contains a hidden center, a spark, where God lives, moves, and is born. This wasn't metaphor. For Eckhart, it was the truest truth. He urged people to silence their minds, let go of their ego, and awaken to what he called Gelassenheit, inner surrender. Eventually, his teachings drew suspicion. In 1329, Pope John the Faustin condemned parts of his writings. But Eckhart died before the verdict reached him. Today, scholars and mystics alike see him as one of the boldest voices of Christian mysticism, a soul centuries ahead of his time. What did Eckhart mean when he said, God is born in the soul? It sounds strange, even heretical, unless you understand the mystical framework he was working within. Eckhart believed that in the depths of every human being lies a divine ground, not just a connection to God, but the place where God becomes. He said, there is something in the soul that is uncreated and uncreatable. If the whole soul were such, it would be uncreated and uncreatable. And this is the intellect. In other words, there's a part of you, beyond your thoughts, feelings, and ego, that is divine awareness itself. It doesn't belong to you. It is you. And when you quiet the surface noise of the mind, God gives birth to himself in you. This wasn't a poetic metaphor. For Eckhart, this was spiritual physics, the innermost structure of reality. This is why he urged people to become empty, still, and detached from external things. Not because the world is bad, but because only silence can hear the voice of God. And in that silence, a strange reversal happens. God is no longer the object of your seeking. You are the eye through which God sees God. Eckhart's language, though rooted in medieval Christianity, aligns astonishingly well with non-dual traditions from the East. In Advaita Vedanta, for example, the self, Atman, is declared to be one with Brahman, the universal consciousness. In Mahayana Buddhism, the idea of shunyata or emptiness refers to the illusory nature of separate identity. Eckhart echoed these same ideas. He wrote, "The soul that knows God must lose all knowledge of itself." This is not self-annihilation, but self-transcendence, the discovery that you are not your thoughts, your story, or even your individuality. You are that which is aware, and this awareness is not yours. It is universal. It is God. Eckhart's divine spark is essentially the non-dual witness, the pure subjectivity that is never an object. Like Vedanta's witness consciousness, it is timeless, silent, and unchanged by experience. He wrote, "God is nearer to me than I am to myself." And he meant it. In this way, Meister Eckhart offers a Christian articulation of the same core insight that mystics across cultures, Rumi, Lao Tzu, Ramana Maharshi, have discovered. God is not outside. God is awareness itself. One of Eckhart's most powerful and challenging ideas is that to truly know God, we must go beyond time. He writes, "The now moment in which God made the first man, and the now moment in which the last man disappears, and the now moment in which I speak, all are the same in God." In other words, God exists not in time, but in the eternal now, the dimensionless moment in which all things unfold. Sound familiar? This idea matches contemporary ideas in physics, such as the block universe, where all moments exist simultaneously, and time is an illusion created by consciousness. But Eckhart takes it further. He claims that our access to God is only possible in the now, because God is pure presence. Thought, he says, is always of the past or future, but God is always now. Eckhart urges us to drop even the idea of God, to let go of all concepts, all images, even all desire for spiritual achievement. Why? Because anything you can think about God is not God. Only in the death of thought, in pure awareness, can the true divine presence be revealed. And when it is, it's not different from you. Perhaps Eckhart's most shocking statement, and one that led to his condemnation, was this: "I pray God to rid me of God." What could this possibly mean? At first glance, it sounds blasphemous, but look deeper. Eckhart is making a distinction between the God we imagine and the God that is. The God of doctrines, rituals, names, and forms, even the God of our deepest longing, is still a construct. But beyond all constructs, there is the groundless ground, the infinite source, the pure I am. Eckhart wanted not to worship about God, but to become one with the living truth beyond ideas. This is remarkably similar to the apophatic traditions of the East, such as Neti Neti in Vedanta, or Mu in Zen, which emphasize that ultimate truth cannot be spoken, only realized. For Eckhart, God is not an object, but the intimate subject, the formless essence that knows itself through you. To encounter that God, one must let go of everything, even the desire for God. What remains? Awareness, stillness, being itself. And that, said Eckhart, is the birthplace of the divine. Let's bring this down to earth. What does this mean for you, right now? According to Eckhart, your awareness is not just a function of your brain. It is not just a private interior process. It is a portal into the divine. Every moment you are conscious, the divine spark is active in you. Every moment of true stillness, of no thought, no grasping, just being, is a moment of union with God. And here's the key. This is always available. You don't have to earn it. You just have to remember it. Eckhart would say, stop looking for God in the sky. Look into the stillness between your thoughts. Listen to the silence behind this sentence. That is where God lives, not in a temple, not in theology, but in the infinite presence of awareness, which is what you are. And the more you rest in this awareness, the more the illusion of separation dissolves, until all that remains is what Eckhart called the ground of the soul, which is not different from the ground of the universe. Meister Eckhart did not ask you to believe. He asked you to wake up, to see that the divine is not a destination, but the very light of your perception. He spoke of the divine spark, not as a poetic symbol, but as the truth of your being. And in this, he bridges the gap between mysticism and consciousness studies, between the church and the cosmos, between God and you. If you take one thing from this video, let it be this: you are not a seeker of God. You are where God seeks to know itself. The birth of the divine is happening, now, in your own awareness. So the question is not, where is God, but are you still enough to see?